From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana, Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. Human rights activists are criticizing President Joe Biden for rolling out the red carpet for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi this week. The Biden administration will be honoring him with a state dinner at the White House on Thursday. Modi will also address a joint session of Congress earlier that day. The White House says this will strengthen the two countries' commitment to a free, open, prosperous, and secure Indo-Pacific region. Human rights groups oppose the VIP treatment, citing serious abuses committed by Modi and his Hindu nationalist allies. Modi was banned from entering the U.S. a decade ago for his role in the 2002 anti-Muslim riots in the Indian state of Gujarat, where he was chief minister. Author Sushrita Vijayan said activists have warned the White House for years about Modi's right-wing, anti-Muslim and anti-minority government. She says the White House has a long history of propping up authoritarian regimes. The Federation of Indian-American Christian Organizations say pastors and their families in India live in constant terror. Human Rights Watch has called Modi's visit an important opportunity for the U.S. government to express concern about the deteriorating human rights situation in India. Former Vice President Mike Pence says the indictment of ex-President Donald Trump sends a terrible message of divided politics to the rest of the world. Pence is running for the presidency in 2024. In an interview with NBC News, he said there has been no similar trial against President Joe Biden involving classified documents. Pence says this is despite similar documents being found in Biden's home and office. He declined to answer whether he would pardon Trump if he were elected president. Pence distanced himself from Trump after his allegations of fraud in the 2020 presidential election. He did the same after the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. A Washington Post report says top law enforcement officials did not want to investigate former President Donald Trump for links to the January 6, 2021 riots at the U.S. Capitol. It said Justice Department and FBI officials did not actively pursue the matter for nearly a year. The FBI did not open the investigation until April 2022. J.P. Cooney, chief of the Fraud and Public Corruption section at the U.S. Attorney's Office, had begun the investigation. He wanted to start a probe with Trump ally Roger Stone and stop the steel organizer Ali Alexander. But others in the department believed Cooney's efforts were premature. They said he would not be able to gather enough evidence. In the weeks leading up to January 6th, Trump supporters publicly boasted about submitting fraudulent ballots on his behalf, but the Justice Department declined to investigate the matter. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has signed a law prohibiting state-funded educational institutions from making selections based on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Institutions can now no longer select students and teachers based on race, gender, color, or ethnicity. Merit will be the sole criterion for selection. The law is set to take effect in January 2024. The bill specifies all hiring practices must be colorblind and gender neutral. Institutions found in violation may be denied planned funding increases. Republican lawmakers and far-right activists are targeting universities and companies that investigate disinformation on the internet. The House Judiciary Committee is led by Republican Jim Jordan. It has sent subpoenas to Stanford College, Clemson College, and the Wikimedia Foundation. A far-right group has filed a class action lawsuit against these organizations, alleging they conspired to silence conservative speech online. Research shows conservative content actually spreads more easily on Facebook and Twitter. Critics say the committee's targeting of these institutions is part of a debunked conspiracy theory that claims that the government and large technology companies are silencing conservative content. Palestinians call Israel's helicopter attack a dangerous escalation. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Palestinian authorities are calling an Israeli helicopter attack in the West Bank a dangerous escalation. At least 4 Palestinians were killed and dozens of people injured in an Israeli attack in the town of Jenin on Monday. An Israeli military helicopter fired missiles at a residential building during the attack. It is the first time since 2002 that Israel has used military aircraft to attack the West Bank. The raid has led to clashes between residents and Israeli forces. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry said the escalation was an attempt by the ruling Israeli coalition to divert attention from its internal crisis. Tensions in the occupied West Bank have been heightened in recent months by repeated Israeli raids on Palestinian towns. Over 160 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces since the start of this year. At least 21 Israelis were killed in separate attacks during the same period. The Indian government's plan to introduce a uniform civil code is causing anxiety among many Muslim and other religious groups. The introduction of a uniform civil code and the abolition of personal civil law are key election campaign issues for the ruling Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party. Jamiat Ulama Hind is one of India's largest Muslim organizations. It says the introduction of a civil code is contrary to religious freedom and fundamental rights guaranteed in the Constitution. Currently, the personal law of the various communities is governed by their religious scriptures. Many groups fear the ruling party may seek to regulate the nation's civil law through Hindu laws. The civil code governs marriage, divorce, succession, and other key social issues. India's secular constitution gives every citizen the right to exercise religious practices and codes in their personal lives. Sudan has declined Kenya's invitation to participate in a meeting of East African bloc countries. Kenya had proposed a meeting to discuss problems in Sudan. The East African bloc region includes Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan, and Uganda, among others. Last week, the bloc announced the formation of a 4-member committee led by Kenya and South Sudan to find a solution to the conflict in Sudan. The Sudanese Foreign Ministry objected to Kenya's characterization of the conflict in the country as a battle between two generals. It also rejected Kenya chairing the committee. Since mid-April, Sudan's conflict has killed nearly 1,000 people and injured 5,000 others. In the run-up to the Islamic holiday of Eid al-Adha, the Middle East's largest camel market is booming. Muslims offer animal sacrifices to revive a tradition established by Prophet Abraham on the occasion. The holiday will be celebrated on June 28th in many parts of the world this year. People flock from cities across Egypt to buy sacrificial camels at the Birqash market. Sales are usually conducted through auctions. Different breeds of camels are sold in the market, but all are not intended for consumption or sacrifice. Some are sold for racing and breeding purposes. Prices for camels vary according to meat quality, breed, and category. Prices typically start at over $900 and can go up to $3,500. Indian-Administered Kashmir has completed 5 years of direct Indian rule without an elected administration. Political parties have called on the Indian government to restore electoral democracy. The region was divided into 2 centrally administered territories in 2019. It was also deprived of political autonomy and merged into the Indian Union. The central rule was imposed in June 2018. This was after the local unit of India's ruling Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party withdrew support from the local government. The following year, the governorship was abolished and a lieutenant governor was appointed for the Jammu and Kashmir region. The Yemeni government has announced that it has reached an agreement with Houthi rebels to release and exchange prisoners. Majid Fadahil, a member of the delegation, told Turkey's Anadolu news agency the talks took place under the auspices of the United Nations. He said the Houthis agreed to release prominent politician Mohammed Qahtan. Qahtan is a leading politician in the Al-Islah party who has been held captive since 2015. On June 16th, representatives of the parties to the conflict in Yemen met in Jordan to negotiate a prisoner exchange. The Iran-backed Houthis have controlled the capital Sana'a and some regions since 2014. Coalition forces led by Saudi Arabia have supported the Yemeni government against the Houthis since March 2015. Saudi Arabia is introducing state-of-the-art services to facilitate the experience of pilgrims performing the Hajj and Umrah. The Ministry of Islamic Affairs, Dawah and Guidance launched an app called Rushd. It informs pilgrims about Hajj rituals and provides translations into different languages. The app also has a library of ebooks about Islam and its various practices. The Women's Affairs Agency provides services for female pilgrims in Medina. Staff have been trained to manage the flow of visitors, clarify regulations, and acquire basic language skills to help these visitors. Afghanistan's Taliban government will mark a national holiday on August 31st. That was when the last U.S. soldier left the country. Last year, the Taliban staged a military parade and lit up the city of Kabul to mark the anniversary of U.S. troop withdrawal. The Taliban seized power 2 weeks before the full withdrawal of U.S. troops. Over 60,000 Afghan soldiers and more than 45,000 civilians were killed in America's 20-year war on Afghanistan. More than 2,000 American troops were also killed in the conflict. Over 3,500 soldiers from other NATO countries also died. Before we end today's news, I'd like to make a special request. It takes our team a combined 55 hours of work daily to produce this news for you. It is news with a unique perspective, and you will find it only here. Sound Vision is a not-for-profit organization which produces it, and like PBS and NPR, it depends on your donations. Please visit MuslimNetwork.tv to donate now, or click on the link below to donate. Thank you. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.